story that came out in the Washington Post. A Black student refused to recite the Pledge of Allegiance, challenging Texas law requiring it. This came out September 26, 2018, and this person in the picture, her name is India Landry, who was suspended back in 2017, and she was 17 years old, for refusing to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Last October, then 17-year-old India Landry was in the principal office of her Texas high school when the school intercom crackled and it was time for the Pledge of Allegiance. Her classmates stood nearly in unison all over Winfern High School outside Houston, but Landry stayed seated and did not recite it. Principal Martha Strother, according to court filings, immediately took action. "Well, you're kicked out of here," she told Landry. "You know what? I would just leave. I wouldn't care if you kicked me out because I didn't stand for the pledge. So what? I'll leave. I'm still not going to stand." Okay. Kick me out, take this, take that, because that's what y'all do. You treat Black folks like kids. "Oh, I'm gonna take this away from you. I'm gonna take that," like they're punishing us like we're little kids. That stuff don't work, by the way. It doesn't work. Unbelievable. "This isn't the NFL," she said. The filing shows connecting Landry's action to protests led by former quarterback Colin Kaepernick, who knelt during the national anthem to protest police brutality. Landry was expelled, but then was allowed back into school days later, court filings show. A legal battle ensued between Landry, now 18, and school district officials. The lawsuit was filed by Landry's mother, Kizzy Landry, who claimed the school violated constitutional protections of free speech, due process, and equal protection. Now, the Texas Attorney General has intervened in the federal case and defended a Texas law that Landry has challenged as unconstitutional. It requires students to recite the pledge or get a parent or guardian's permission if they wish to opt out. Y'all have to do that in Texas? Man, here in New Jersey, you just stand or you don't. But y'all got to do all of that permission crap? Get out of here, man. That's crazy. Requiring the pledge to be recited at the start of every school day has a laudable result of fostering respect for our flag and a patriotic love of our country. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. No, I'm serious, y'all. No, it doesn't. That's not what makes you patriotic. 26 other states have similar statutes, Paxton said. His comment included a not so subtle nod to a popular Republican attack on the NFL protest echoed by Trump that they disrespect the flag. Okay. By extension, the U.S. troops and veterans. Okay, so this coming from a 5-time draft dodger, and y'all don't care about no military, and you don't care about no veterans. Okay, veterans are on the streets, homeless all over this country. You don't care about no veterans. They think if they say that stuff to us, it's shaming us. Well, let me just inform many of you that are, your IQ may be so high that you're blind and can't see. Those things are never going to shame any Black people in this country. Y'all can keep repeating that shame and the flag, and you're disrespecting the vets and disrespecting the military and disrespecting the cops. No, we're not. No, we're not. And that stuff that you're saying is just a very failed talking point. It doesn't work. I haven't come across one Black person in my life that felt shame because you said those words to them. They feel no shame, and they shouldn't feel none either. Black people have served in the military since they've been on this soil. Black people have been veterans for many, many centuries in this country. Black people serve on the police force. So we shouldn't have to feel shame about none of those things. And I don't. And I promise you, when you come across the next Black person and you repeat that, disrespect the flag, disrespect the troops, disrespect the, I promise you, they're not going to feel no shame either. And they shouldn't feel none. You may think you got the perfect talking point. You really don't. It's a failed one. It doesn't work. Okay. Landry's attorney, Randall Killinan, a civil rights lawyer and former president of the Houston ACLU chapter, said the conversation around the protest and political firestorm that ensued is important context. 10 days before Landry refused to stand and recite the pledge, Trump suggested that NFL owners should fire players who kneel. It was one of the more prominent moments of the debate around the protests. Well, Trump really needs to be concerned about being the president and show less concern for the NFL. Okay, he's always concerned about things that are not important. Before this case, never one time did I hear of any school forcing kids to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Killinan told the Washington Post on Wednesday, citing thousands of requests for assistance in his career. Then, in 2 weeks, I had 3 calls. Killinan described the decision and wording of Paxton's announcement as politically motivated and galvanized conservative voters ahead of the November elections. A spokeswoman for Paxton did not return a request for comment. A recent Quinnipiac University poll found 54% of likely voters in Texas disapproved of the NFL protest, the Texas Tribune reported. Somehow I'm not surprised about that, Texas. Killinan declined to make Landry available for an interview, citing the ongoing litigation, but said her actions were partly inspired by Kaepernick's protest of police brutality. She had refused to stand for the pledge more than 200 times, court filings showed. Last spring, Landry's refusal prompted a teacher to send her out of class, and another sent her to the principal's office. Attorneys for the school district did not immediately return calls for comments. I felt the flag doesn't represent what I stand for, liberty and justice for all, and I don't feel what is going on in the country. So it was my choice to remain seated silently. It was a silent protest, Landry told NBC Houston in July. That came after the judge denied requests for the Cypress Fairbanks Independent School District to dismiss the case. According to the lawsuit, the school's assistant principal told India that she was going to stand for the pledge like the other African Americans in her class. So again, shaming. It don't work. It don't work. Hello? Principal Strother also suggests that Landry write about Black justice issues instead of refusing to stand. Well, what justice are we getting? What justice are we getting? I would have said, okay, I'll write about that. And then the next day I would hand her a blank piece of paper. because that we don't get no justice here. So that'll be an easy paper to write. I would have wrote my name, the date, and then hand her a blank paper. No justice. So it's nothing for me to write about. That and connections to the NFL protests made by school officials led Judge Keith P. Ellison of the Southern Texas District Court to allow claims of equal protection violations to move forward. Those comments signal that school officials view India's choice to remain seated for the pledge as one that is significantly linked to India's race and the treatment of her people of her race. Ellison wrote in his July ruling, in 1943, the Supreme Court ruled that students couldn't be forced to say the Pledge of Allegiance. The plaintiffs in the case were Jehovah's Witnesses whose religion forbids them from saying the pledge. So apparently she won her case. The judge sided with her. So good for her. Good for her. And the fact that they're trying to force it, that makes me not want to stand or recite it even more. I'm not going to do it anyway. You know, I'm just telling you, I'm not going to do it no matter how you look at it. But good for her. I wish India Landry the best. And if you don't want to stand for this pledge, you shouldn't have to be forced to do it. Forcing people to do things is only going to make them resent it more. Plain and simple. You're not going to get the results that you're looking for trying to force this. And you know what, Texas, y'all need to change this thing about parental permission if you don't want to stand. No. You know, let me tell you something. Here in New Jersey, if you don't want to stand, you just don't stand. It's no issue. You know, you don't have to get any parental signature or signature from a guardian. I think that's ridiculous. That's a constitutional thing. You shouldn't need no signature for that. Y'all need to think about changing that in Texas. But please tell me what you think. Comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I will see you on the next video. Peace, family.